They said the Marrow House was alive, not haunted, alive. Its bones creaked with hunger, its walls breathed, and when the wind crawled through the valley, the house whispered names. And the moment it whispered yours, it was already too late. The town of Black Hollow was one of those forgotten specks on the map that most GPS systems refuse to acknowledge. A thin mist always clung to its roads, and the air carried the faint scent of rain and rust. Evelyn Carter had driven for 6 hours straight before her headlights finally caught the faded welcome to Black Hollow, a sign hanging crooked, its paint chipped by decades of neglect. She parked her van near the only gas station still open. The attendant, an old man with trembling hands, looked up as she walked in, camera slung over her shoulder. "You're not from around here," he rasped. Evelyn smiled politely. "I'm just passing through. I'm shooting a documentary, Old Houses, Forgotten Places. Ever heard of the Marrow House?" The old man's smile faded. He stared at her for a moment too long, then shook his head. "You don't want to go there, miss. Some places, they don't like to be remembered." Evelyn chuckled, brushing it off. She'd heard similar warnings in every town she visited. Locals always had their ghost stories, part superstition, part pride. Still, something about the man's tone lingered in her mind as she filled her tank. By the time she reached the road leading to Marrow House, the fog had thickened into something almost tangible. The trees leaned over the road like mourners. When the mansion finally appeared through the mist, her breath caught in her throat. The house stood at the top of a hill, its silhouette black against the moonlight, 3 stories of rotting wood and shattered glass. The front gate hung on a single hinge, moaning softly as the wind passed through. Evelyn turned on her recorder. November 13th, 10:46 p.m. Location, Black Hollow, Pennsylvania. Locals say this house whispers at night. Let's find out why. The front door groaned as she pushed it open. The smell hit her first, mold, rot, and something faintly metallic. Her flashlight swept across the foyer, torn wallpaper, a grand staircase coated in dust, a chandelier lying shattered on the floor like broken ice. She began filming. Every sound echoed too long, like the house was repeating her movements back to her. Her light caught the edges of portraits hanging along the wall. The Marrow family stared back, a tall, solemn man with hollow eyes. A woman in lace, a young girl holding a porcelain doll. But the girl's face had been violently scratched out of the painting. Evelyn zoomed in. "Vandalism," she murmured for the camera. Or maybe, a soft creak interrupted her. Her laughter didn't echo. That unsettled her more than the noise. Upstairs, she found a child's bedroom. Wallpaper faded to pale blue, stuffed animals collapsed in corners. On the floor sat a wooden dollhouse, a perfect miniature of Marrow House. Dust coated it thickly, except for one corner where fingerprints had recently disturbed it. Kneeling, Evelyn peered inside. Her stomach dropped. The dollhouse contained tiny porcelain figures. A man, a woman, a child. And standing by the miniature front door was a new figure, crudely made, holding a tiny camera. Her flashlight flickered. The house exhaled, and then the whispers began. At first they were faint, like wind brushing against her ears, but the longer she listened, the clearer they became. Dozens of voices, overlapping, murmuring words that refused to form sentences. She raised her recorder. "Hello?" The voices stopped. And then a child's laugh, high-pitched, echoing through the hallway. Evelyn spun around. "Who's there?" No answer. Just the steady drip, drip, drip of water from somewhere above. The whispers returned, closer this time. A leave before it remembers. Her pulse quickened. "Who remembers?" she asked, backing away. Silence. Then softly, "You shouldn't play in someone else's house." Evelyn froze. The child's voice had come from right behind her. She turned slowly. The hallway was empty. Her camera caught something, though. A faint outline of a small figure at the end of the hall, only visible for a single frame before it vanished. She decided to leave. But when she reached the front door, her stomach dropped. The door was gone. In its place was a wall, seamless as if no door had ever existed. Her breathing quickened. No. Every window she tried was the same, covered, blocked, sealed. The rooms began to change. Hallways twisted. Doorways appeared where they shouldn't. It was as if the house was rewriting itself. Evelyn's camera continued to record everything. She found herself in what looked like a study, shelves lined with decayed books, and in the center a large phonograph. A record sat on it, labeled simply, "A Marrow Family, October 1902. She hesitated, then played it. Static. Then a man's voice, low, trembling. "The house, it feeds on memory. It takes from us what we bring inside. I can hear them in the walls now, the voices of those it has already devoured. A woman's voice interrupted him, whispering urgently, "Harold, stop recording. It can hear you." The recording cut off with a shriek of feedback. The lights flickered. The whispering swelled again, louder now, overlapping in a dissonant hum. Evelyn clutched her camera, whispering to herself, "It's just a sound loop. A trick of the acoustics." But deep down, she didn't believe that. When she stumbled back into the foyer, something had changed. The portraits on the wall were no longer of the Marrow family. They were of strangers, a man in a flannel shirt, a teenage girl in a denim jacket, a woman with a camera. Evelyn stepped closer, her throat tightening. The woman in the last portrait looked exactly like her. Only the eyes were different, solid black. She staggered back, shaking. "Oh no, that wasn't here before." Behind her, a voice whispered, "It adds who it keeps." She turned, trembling. "Who said that?" A figure stood halfway up the stairs. A woman in a torn dress, her skin pale as parchment. Her eyes were hollow, her mouth moving soundlessly. Evelyn stepped closer, raising the camera. "Who are you?" The woman's lips stopped moving. Then, slowly, she pointed at Evelyn. The walls groaned. The lights went out. Darkness swallowed her. The air thickened. Somewhere, something began crawling, nails scratching against the wood. Evelyn turned on her flashlight, its beam shaking. She caught glimpses of movement, shadows darting across the walls, arms stretching where they shouldn't. She ran. Every turn led to another hallway. Every door opened to another room that didn't belong. Finally, she found a narrow staircase leading down into the basement. The steps creaked under her feet as though the house were breathing through the floorboards. The basement was colder than anywhere else. Cobwebs hung like curtains. In the far corner, something gleamed. An old film projector. Dozens of film reels were stacked beside it. Each reel was labeled with a name and a date. She picked one up. The label read, Harold Marrow, 1902. Another said, Sarah Lynn, 1956. And then she saw one more, the newest, written in fresh ink, Evelyn Carter, 2023. Her shaking hands loaded it into the projector. The reel sputtered to life. At first, static, then grainy footage of her. Evelyn watched herself walking through the house, recording, exploring. Then the film began showing things she hadn't experienced. Herself screaming, banging on walls, being dragged backward by something unseen. And then, a final frame. Her face staring directly into the camera, eyes completely black. The film burned through with a hiss. A voice whispered from behind her. And now you remember. She turned slowly. Standing there were the shadows of the Marrow family, the father, the mother, the daughter, and countless others, faces blurred, eyes hollow. They surrounded her. The whispers grew into a single chant. Stay, stay, stay. The floor began to shift, rippling beneath her feet. Hands reached up through the wood, grasping, pulling. Evelyn screamed, dropping the camera. The lens recorded the last thing she saw, the ceiling stretching downward like a living thing, the walls pulsing with breath, and her own body being dragged into the floor. Then, silence. Weeks later, hikers passing through the valley saw lights flickering in the windows of Marrow House again. No one had seen lights there in decades. The police eventually found Evelyn's van abandoned near the gate, keys still in the ignition. Her equipment was gone, except for one SD card, lying on the driver's seat. When investigators played it, the footage ended abruptly with a close-up of Evelyn's terrified face and a whisper. It knows your name now. A month later, a new portrait appeared inside the house. Evelyn, camera in hand, eyes empty, her smile frozen in fear. And when the wind swept through Black Hollow that night, the house whispered again. Only this time, it didn't say Evelyn. It said yours. It's still listening. For listening.